All right, so listeners send us a ton of stuff on Pavegen, this company that's making sidewalks that make energy, and we are going to take a deep dive into it, see if it's just like a cool little gimmick or like,
Yeah.
is this something that can really change how we power cities?
You know what I find really fascinating about this is it kind of flips the script on how we think about energy.
Right.
We think about these massive power plants and all that, but this is taking something we do every single day, just walking, and turning that into power.
So let's break it down. How does this thing actually work? Like, can my walk to get coffee actually power anything?
So, picture this. You're walking down the street. Every time your foot hits the sidewalk, you're depressing the Pavegen tile just slightly. That little movement spins these flywheels underneath, and boom, electricity.
So it's like those shake flashlights, but for sidewalks.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really cool. The heavier you are, the more energy you generate. So it's like a huggable energy source.
Wait, huggable. I didn't see that in the articles.
Yeah, in the CNBC video, the founder says, you can't hug a wind turbine or a solar panel. It's just like hugging the floor. They're really playing up that connection, that human connection with energy.
That is pretty clever. But let's be real. Can these things actually handle a busy city?
Right.
Rain, snow, the occasional spilled latte.
Well, that's where their engineering comes in. These things are built to last. We're talking waterproof to handle flooding. They say they're heat resistant enough to cook a fry-up on. And a projected lifespan of 20 years.
We cook on them. We need to see video of that. But seriously, 20 years is impressive. What happens after that? Just chuck them in a landfill.
Well, they've actually thought about that. Their goal is to recycle and repurpose these tiles, even turn them into furniture. So they're really thinking about that full life cycle.
Okay, so they're tough, they're green, but can they actually make a difference? I mean, like on a bigger scale?
Right, that's the million-dollar question. And one of the sources, Pasted Text, highlights Pavegen's really ambitious goal to bring this tech to every community in the world.
Wow, that is ambitious. I'm guessing there's some challenges to scaling this up, though.
Definitely. Think about solar power. You know it took decades. Research, investment, honestly, trial and error to get that mainstream. Pavegen seems to be on a similar path.
So it's not just about making a cool gadget, it's about changing how people think about energy.
Exactly. And that's where real-world examples come in. So let's take a look at the Loop in Dubai. It's this 92-kilometer cycling and walking track, all paved with Pavegen tiles.
Whoa, 92 kilometers. That's like 2 weeks of solid walking, right? Think about all the energy they could generate.
Yeah, it's a really good example of their vision, seamlessly integrating clean energy into everyday life. But it's not just Dubai. Pavegen is lighting up a favela in Brazil, a college campus in Nigeria, bringing power to places that haven't had reliable access before.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's not just some fancy tech for developed countries. This actually has the potential to help all over the world.
And what's fascinating is that Pavegen goes beyond just making electricity. They're gathering a lot of data on how people use the tiles.
Data. So it's not just about powering lights, it's about understanding how people move around a city.
Yeah, you got it. They're tracking foot traffic patterns, energy outputs, and even engagement metrics. This data isn't just sitting around, it's being used to design better urban environments.
Now that's where it gets really interesting. So we're talking about a city that learns and adapts based on how people are actually using it. Tell me more.
Imagine city planners being able to see where people are walking in real time. That's what Pavegen's data can do. You can see where people are congregating, you can identify bottlenecks, and then they can design the city to flow better.
So it's not just about the energy, it's about making the whole city work better.
Exactly. And the Transforming Cities video even talks about how they can use this data to figure out where to put stuff, like benches, charging stations, right where people need them most.
That's really cool. It was like the city is constantly learning and
Yes.
adapting.
And as the tech gets better, the possibilities just keep growing. Imagine being able to predict when things need maintenance, or even using the data to plan public events. Make sure they're in the right spot.
So we could see like smarter traffic flow, more efficient waste management, all thanks to people just walking around.
That's the idea, and it all goes back to Pavegen's mission, to make the future more sustainable. But as we've been talking about, scaling up something like this isn't easy.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not as simple as just putting these tiles everywhere. So what are some of the things holding them back?
Well, one big one is cost. Right now, they're pretty expensive to make and install, especially compared to like regular concrete.
That makes sense. It's like any new tech. The price usually goes down as they make more of them. But how do they get to that point?
The CNBC video had an interesting comparison to solar power. Remember when solar panels were a niche thing? Everyone thought they were too expensive, not efficient enough. But then, through investment, research, and development, the cost came down a lot.
So they're hoping to do the same thing with Pavegen.
Exactly, and they're working to make them cheaper to make by using more recycled materials. The pasted text source says they already have 20% less embodied carbon than regular concrete.
Wait, embodied carbon, what does that mean exactly?
Oh yeah, embodied carbon means it's like all the greenhouse gases that go into a product, from
Yeah.
getting the materials to making it, shipping it, even throwing it away.
So Pavegen is trying to be green at every step, not just when the tiles are making energy.
Exactly, which shows they really care about sustainable innovation. It's not just about the product being green, it's about the whole process.
All right, so they're working on the cost, they're committed to sustainability, but what about getting cities on board to actually use this tech?
That's another challenge. It takes a change in thinking. Cities have to be willing to try something new, invest in new solutions. Sometimes that means dealing with bureaucracy, getting funding, and educating people about the benefits.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's a social and political challenge too.
Definitely. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about engagement. Pavegen can't just be something governments force on people. It needs to be something communities embrace. The people who are actually going to be walking on these things.
I see what you mean. People need to get it, like
Yeah.
understand how it works, why it matters, how it can help them.
Right. And Pavegen seems to be doing that. They're not just focusing on like the technical side. They're emphasizing the human connection, making it interactive. Remember that hugging the floor thing?
Yeah, I get it. It's not just about numbers, it's about making people feel involved. So, with all that in mind,
hmm
what do you think the future holds for Pavegen? Will this ever become as common as solar panels or windmills?
I mean, that's the big question, right? Can they really get that big? Like as common as solar panels and wind turbines?
Yeah, it feels like we're at a turning point with renewables. There's so much cool stuff happening. But this is such a different approach. Do you think they can actually pull it off?
Well, they definitely have some advantages. Like first, cities are all about space, right? We're trying to fit more people and stuff into the same area. And Pavegen takes something we need anyway, sidewalks, and turns them into an energy source.
True, it's not like you need a giant field for this.
Right. And second, people want things to be more interactive these days. Like they want to be a part of the solution, not just a customer. And with Pavegen, you see the energy being made. It's almost like a game.
Yeah, I can see that being really appealing, especially for like younger folks.
Yeah.
They really care about the environment and want to make a difference.
Exactly. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about the message it sends. And I think Pavegen has done a good job with that.
So looking ahead, like 10, 20 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think? Could we see entire cities powered by footsteps?
It's a cool idea, and I don't have a crystal ball or anything, but I think Pavegen could become a big part of how cities get their energy. Maybe not replacing everything else, but working alongside it and making the whole system stronger.
I like that. A city where energy is all around us, not something way off in a power plant.
Right, and I think that's really the point here. Pavegen changes how we think about energy. It's not just about the watts. It's about getting people involved, building community, and making things better for everyone.
One step at a time.
Exactly.
Well said.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's worth leaving our listeners with this thought. What if every city did this? What could we achieve if we all worked together, harnessed the power of our footsteps?
That's a powerful image. And it shows that sometimes the best solutions aren't the big complicated ones. They come from simple actions. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.